Well. Welcome to Cape Cast. I'm here tonight with Alan
Alan.
and Britt.
It's Britt, bitch.
Appreciate you guys jumping on. Ryan is MIA once again, but we'll hold the fort down because
we lost Ryan this time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, tonight we're going to be doing a Moon Knight episode 5 review. In true Cape Cast fashion, we're a week late. We were supposed to do this last week, but life just got away from us. People got busy. Yada yada yada. We don't want to bore you with the details, but yeah. So let me go ahead and kind of give you the rundown of what this episode is. Episode 5 is called Asylum. It's directed by Mohammed Diab, I believe that's how you say it. And the synopsis is: Mark and Steven search through their memories to find their truth or become left behind. And just before we get started, it should be noted that we, as usual, are going to be doing full spoilers. So spoilers going forward. All right, so you've been warned. Gentlemen, episode 5, initial thoughts. I don't remember who went first last time because it feels like it was months ago at this point, even though it's only been a week and a half or a week, I guess. Has it been a week? 2 weeks? I don't know.
We're working on 2 weeks now.
Like yeah, 2 weeks. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So let's go Britt. I'm feeling Britt right now.
All right.
Alan.
No, I'm good.
So overall, I like the episode. I think that this was kind of one of those episodes that I would say almost waiting for. I honestly think like when everybody hyped up episode 4, I almost feel like episode 5 was really the one that should have been hyped up. Like we got a little bit of the carryover from episode 4. Again, I think some of my maybe complaints or reservations on episode 4 was the fact that I felt like the Asylum piece felt too short. But that actually carried over in this episode. I didn't expect that as much as it did, but definitely enjoyed this episode overall. And I'm really looking forward to the next episode, really to see what came out of this episode is going to travel forward. And again, in the grand scheme of the MCU, it's interesting to see how this kind of fits in place with the rest of the universe and kind of what we get to see in this episode. But all in all, that was a pretty good episode.
Very cool. Very cool. Mr. Allen.
Some of the same stuff there. I've come to the realization that the Moon Knight show that we were expecting to get is not what's going to happen.
You're just now coming to that realization?
Well, but I will say, I've come to watch the show for what it is instead of expecting it to be what, something darker that we thought it might be. But like I said, on a whole, like for what this show is, it's been a great show as far as a Disney Plus series. It's really strong. It's not as dark as we would have liked, but it's been really strong. And this episode might have been the best one so far for me. It tugged at your heartstrings. It went dark when it needed to. It maintained the lighthearted levity that Disney is known for as well. So it kind of had a good balance of everything, in my opinion. So
yeah,
solid episode for sure.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it definitely is one of the stronger episodes of this series so far. I liked the backstory elements that kind of get filled in, and kind of how the Steven character is created. Essentially, the whole brother dynamic is interesting. I felt like, as far as execution, I do have issues with how they kind of, I do love the format they use, but as far as like the the way that I felt like the mom, even it's one of those things where we weren't given a lot of time with the mom and dad characters, and so they kind of had to, I guess, be at a very high level very quickly. Like we didn't see a progression with that, so it kind of came where she's just kind of like, she's so terrible to Mark, like just instantly. Where I just feel like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that some parents are like that in situations like what happened, but with the brother. But it's hard for me to believe a mom would act that way so like just so quickly.
Like turn on a dime the way that she did.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think that like this series, if I had like one complaint overall in the series, it needed to be 8 episodes. Like it needed, and we've talked about this on other reviews, like all these pieces, it feels like they cram so much into each episode. And I love what they do with it, but I just feel like everything needs a little more breathing room. So going back to like episode 1 with like the jackals and, you know, do people see them? Do people not see them? Like, is it in his head? Like all those little aspects, I feel like just need a little more room to breathe. I feel like with the mom, they were trying to set up this whole thing of Steven kept calling his mom, but you never really heard her on the phone. But then when you see this, it's like you got one incident where it looked like he was jealous of his brother, and then bam, the accident happens, and then, you know, you go through that. So like I agree with you on that. I feel like each of these episodes just needs to be a little longer. We need like 2 more episodes just to kind of put that in there, rather than every episode being so packed.
Had the funeral, you know, wake scene just been his mom being a little cold and distant to him, and then have those other birthday moments where it progressed, where she wasn't there, or she was drunk or snarky, you know, like depressed. Like had they progressed on and then had her lash out in him towards the end, it would have worked completely. I just felt like that one moment was completely out of place for the rest of the episode. Like they started out guns blazing, like Brandon was talking, instead of, you know, easing in, you know, putting your toe in the water and kind of easing in. You know, if they had put that moment, that shouting moment at the end of that segment, you know, I feel like it would have made so much more sense. But yeah,
and it's just one of those things where it's like a time thing. I get the rationalization of why they did it, but it would have worked better if it had been given more time. What do you got? So we get a little bit. We get a. Well, I don't know if we do. Do you guys think? I know a lot of people think that the third personality comes in during the Harrow scene. That he's talking with kind of a Brooklyn accent a little bit. Did you guys get that vibe?
Yeah.
I think overall, I mean, it's interesting that they've waited so long to save the third personality, and if it isn't that, then I'm worried that the next episode, if they're going to put that in there, it's going to feel really crammed.
Well, that's what I worry. I worry that it's just going to be like, that's going to be the end. Like it's going to be revealed that there's a third personality, and that's how it's going to end or something.
Which we did just get news today that they changed series finale to season finale in a bunch of the marketing. So I know originally when he signed on, he didn't sign on for multiple seasons and things like that, but it does seem like they're at least setting it up to maybe we get more to it, since this one does seem to be getting picked up by a lot more people kind of checking out and watching it. So,
and I guess my thing is, you know, theorizing Jake is gonna be the one that brings Conchu back. You know, like I guess that's kind of the way that they could bring him in. I guess if I'm just kind of taking a ballpark guess, is that he comes in and knows how to bring Conchu back, and you know, there's Moon Knight again, ready to fight. So it's about the quickest way they could work that, you know, kind of shoehorn that in, I guess.
So I guess after the whole back and forth with Harrow, then they basically get ushered off into the dying lands, or I don't know what it's called, with Taweret, the hippo, or what does Harrow call him, like a crocodile or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not crocodile. What does he say? He says something. But anyway, but yeah, with them balancing the scales, that whole thing, if the scales don't balance before they get to what is the
field of
the
the
ancestral
field of
plane,
reeds or
is that what
whatever.
it is?
Yeah.
Which is a lot of people, they had that ancestral plane in Black Panther.
Yeah.
And
That was kind of a
people,
nod to that. I know that Britt pays way more attention to the nods than most of us do. But I did get that. Like, I felt like Captain America in the first Avengers movie. I got that reference. That was it. When they said the ancestral plane, I was like, ooh, that's from Black Panther.
Yeah. I thought all that stuff in the kind of like the journey on the boat through the desert was really well done. I thought obviously it reminds me of one of the Pirates movies. I can't remember which one does that, when Sparrow, I think this is the third one.
That's right. At World's End. Yeah.
But
when he's dragging the boat through the ocean, through the desert, or
with all the crabs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was cool. And my question is, so later it's revealed that Mark created, well, I don't know if this is the way it's supposed to come across, but it's intended to come across as Mark creates Steven to kind of take the blunt of his pain from his mom or whatever. And
what's
or is it supposed to be Jake is the one that takes that? But it doesn't make sense to me, because he talks in a British accent after when he switches.
Yeah.
But to me, it would make more sense for Mark to be the one that's like the big brother in this relationship.
Yeah.
Instead of the innocent, like Steven feels much more innocent. Doesn't feel like he knows about any of this stuff.
Yeah. But I guess my thing is Steven's been the punching bag all season long. Like he's until here recently, when him and Mark started bleeding over into each other, he had been the doormat for everyone. So it would only make sense for him to have created a doormat.
But what's weird though is, like, kind of going back to that, what Brandon's saying though, is in the episode when she comes in, right, he switches to the Steven personality and he's picking up the pins or whatever that was on the ground, and she's like, she gets the belt and she's going after him. So what's weird about it is, like, you have that, which makes it seems like she's beating on Steven, but then you have Mark saying, like, you aren't supposed to see this, and like he doesn't remember his mom that way. So it contradicts itself, unless right as she starts to do it, he switches to that Jake personality, and or Mark takes back over. I don't know, but I do feel like it's not clear, and it does feel a little backwards at what happened in the episode. So
it definitely is confusing, because I would just assume that because Mark he's the mercenary, he feels more of a hardened, like he's kind of like he's kind of the protector of Steven almost. Like he's keeping him from being able to, like,
but when they were kids, he wasn't a mercenary then. What I mean? Like,
I know, but that to me would lend some sort of credence to why he would choose this, like, more hardened lifestyle, is because he's the one that's had the hard lifestyle. But I don't know. I just feel like that was confusing why they chose it to go that route to me, because I would have just assumed it would be the opposite. It just works better in my head to be the opposite.
But like Brett said, it could have been Jake that switched in at the last moment, and saved Steven from the belt.
And that would be cool if that's the case.
And maybe Mark doesn't even know that. Like, maybe Mark switched and he thought Steven was taking the brunt, but Yeah, I don't know. There's some
Well,
verbiage
that would make
when they're
sense.
saying that, you know.
That would make sense because, you know, when they both woke up, you know, in Egypt, and there's dead bodies laying all around them, and neither one of them knows how it happened. That would make sense, you know, because Mark wouldn't have known that Jake was taking over, you know. So that's a good theory.
Yeah,
we'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah. And you know, it was cool to see how they kind of set all that up with them going into that like cafeteria type area with all the dead bodies that Mark had killed, and then the little boy standing there, and it gives a look like I don't know about you guys. I didn't expect that to be the case, like that reveal that he was responsible for his brother's death, drowning.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good kind of like a lot of these, like, you know, it's very reminiscent to like a psychological thriller, which is kind of more of what I was wanting out of the show, was these types of moments. So it was cool to see that.
This episode on a whole went to much darker places than I felt like any of the other episodes had gone to, which was, I mean, don't get me, you know, some of it was kind of depressing what was happening to this kid, you know, but at the same time, when you're, you know, like when you're wanting the setup for these multiple personalities and to explain how Mark became who he is, you need this kind of story, you know, so it made sense. It just made sense.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if like we've kind of noticed this as it's progressed, right? Like when it started, we thought it was gonna be dark, it was gonna be gritty and all that, and it kind of wasn't. But then when we got to like the tomb piece of the episode the other week, like it started to feel a little more of that gritty, dark pieces. We had the anxiety field, you know, running from the mummy and stuff. And so like I feel like they're just still trying to test the waters with a lot of these episodes and series to see what they can and can't do. And, you know, I'm hopefully crossing the fingers still that with Daredevil and all of that there, like they're going to be able to look at those numbers and go, look how many people watch this. We can get gritty, you know, beyond what we saw in like Bucky and Winter Soldier with, you know, the shield kill and that kind of stuff. So hopefully, you know, they do with things like Ghost Rider and whatever down the road, whenever that's going to be, like maybe they'll actually start to know that they can do that and be okay. So
yeah. Well, it's like we discussed, it's like we talked about before, you know, they had filmed this show before they had actually cleared the hurdle of the parental blocks, you know, so they had to film this show with intention on children watching it. You know what I mean? So that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I hope that it is a catalyst for them to be a little bit more willing to go there, but we'll see. But this is, I mean, like I said, this is definitely more in line with what I was wanting, and I think that's probably why it's one of my favorite episodes. I mean, they do have like the hippo stuff is a little silly, visually silly, even though I think it's well done. Like I think that character design and the execution, I think that it's I was just watching like the little like minute, like the little like ears wiggling and stuff, or like hippos will do when you see like nature documentaries, like how they emote. But yeah, so that's, you know, that's Marvel's formula to their way of bringing a little more levity to the situation by having this like very anthropomorphic hippo creature in there, which is fine.
And I hope and I hope because these are kind of the Egyptian gods and they're showing us one, right? Like here's the full detail. I'm kind of hoping, I'm not expecting, but I'm hoping this next episode we're going to see maybe some of these other, you know, Egyptian gods at some level. So now this is the second one we've kind of seen outside of, you know, the people just being possessed in their bodies or whatever. So I don't know. I definitely like the visualizations, like you guys are saying, and interested to see what's going to be in the next episode and how far they go. Like, how much budget did they have left on this last episode? Because It's a shorter episode. It's only 45 minutes, so they got a lot to wrap up
Yeah.
That's
within that.
yeah, that number, that minute, that minute total did not make me happy. You know, when like you said, I mean, bare minimum, this could have been an 8-episode series. I mean, I can argue that we could have went 12 and it would have still been a little short in places. But I don't know. This episode was great. So I mean, they definitely set the bar a little higher for the finale, for sure.
Yeah. I was kind of expecting when they're running around trying to get the hearts to balance, like you were saying earlier, Brandon, like I was like really expecting to be like, oh, there's that third personality over in the sarcophagus. We need to get them out.
Yeah. And that would balance. That's what I thought it was going to be too.
That was mine as well. I was like, I got to go get Jake. That's what I told Mandy while we were watching it. And then lo and behold, he never showed up.
It's no, you actually have to lose the personality.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't expect that. And that was a shocker for sure with Steven going over the edge. And I was like, I mean, I could see that being the end of him, you know, like where Mark kind of becomes whole, you know, or closer to whole, I guess, you know, and I hope it's not the end because I enjoyed Steven as a character, but I could see that. I enjoy Steven more than I enjoy Mark personally.
Yeah.
But
I enjoy Steven as the wholesome character in the show. You know what I mean? Because it is Marvel, it is Disney. You need that wholesome character, even in a dark show. You need that character, and without him,
I guess that's a good point because he's definitely the endearing character, and so that's probably why I guess I care for him more than Mark. But Mark is kind of also necessary.
But Disney's formula, they're going to kill somebody off to add to the story. That's what happens. That's what Disney does.
But also they bring them back. They usually bring them back. Yeah. So
that's true.
Nobody's ever really dead.
Yeah. No, I think the other thing I really liked as they were going through that, right, is this episode itself gave us a lot of story without it feeling like here's a flashback, here's another flashback. Like there was a lot of flashbacks, but I felt like every one of them felt like it was needed. And I enjoyed that because definitely with some shows and even some of the older Disney Plus shows, there was a few times where just like, that really wasn't needed. But I did enjoy how these didn't feel necessarily out of place. Now they all felt a little short, but they didn't necessarily feel out of place. So it was a good balancing act of giving us what we need to go into kind of this final battle or whatever of the wrap up, next week. So,
yeah. And it was also unlike a lot of shows that would just like randomly flash back and show things. This at least had a good way to do that story wise. Having them there in the scenes, seeing the things unfold, reliving going through the different doors in the asylum. So I appreciate that. That makes it a little less heavy-handed and forced.
Like I said, I may have my issues with the mother's, development in the flashbacks, but I do feel like it was very fluid with the way that they worked with the exception of that one moment. I feel like it was the transition just moved. I feel like that episode was one of the better as far as pacing goes, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's one of those things where, like I said earlier, it's just if we could have introduced it earlier, the idea, like the actual death of the brother earlier, and had that be a thing to give us a little time to digest that with Mark being responsible. Maybe give some hints that he and his mom's relationship was fractured when they were kids. Besides, I mean, Steven obviously they do mention the mom, but he doesn't really have that relationship. Speaking of, I said Laters Gators the other day, just like randomly, like to my daughter, and I was like, am I enjoying this show more than I it's seeped into my my lexicon. So
like I
that's
said,
something.
it's not the show. I don't think it's the show that any of us were expecting it to be, but I still believe it's this stronger of the Disney Plus Marvel shows so far.
Yeah, it's in there next to Loki. I don't know if I enjoyed it. I don't know. I think I might enjoy it more than Loki. I mean,
Yeah, and I did enjoy Loki as well, but this one's just kind of on a different level for me than Loki.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where it's just like you were saying, putting expectations aside and accepting it for what it is. I think if the expectations weren't there, I'd be a lot more forgiving. But yeah, I mean, I still am enjoying it. I'm excited to see how it wraps up tomorrow, if it is an actual wrap up, because like you were saying, they did change it to season finale versus series. So
yeah, I'm kind of in a different plane to where I definitely think this is one of the top ones, but Loki's still hands down the top for me. But I think that's because I see how Loki intertwines with everything.
Yeah, and you've got a long history with that character too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that go into that. Not
Well, and
just
it seems like
what's on the screen for this one series. Like this is
And,
all we have of this character in this show. We don't have
phase 4, and phase 4 is tying so heavily into the multiverse that Loki just kind of became the catalyst to push that forward.
And I'm hoping this next episode gives me those same kind of vibes. I know, again, this is an MCU fan, right? Everything's got to connect, and I do like how it's standing alone for the most part by itself. A lot of connections, a lot of little things, but as far as the story, it's kind of on its own. I am kind of curious, as always, where this fits into that timeline. And what we're going to see, because I did see an article just in glancing yesterday about the plane that they're in. Also kind of calls back to like the Soul Stone. So like when Thanos goes there, and you also had like essentially Bruce Banner and the Hulk goes to the plane as well, and Hawkeye and all that. Like, so there's all these different people. It's almost like, is that the same plane that they're in? Are we going to get some kind of interconnectivity there where the souls go? But I don't know. I mean, I thought it was a kind of an interesting thing, but I didn't get into the weeds of their arguments on it being the same thing. But I thought that's kind of a cool thought about how it does interconnectivity, and where do the Egyptian gods fall into play with the Eternals, with Thanos and all of that. So
and I have seen that there's potential of there being a little more connective tissue in this final episode, to the MCU. So and I'd be okay with it if it's done the right way, because I do want him to be part of the MCU. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that he is, but I don't care as much about them tying that in at the end as much as tying up other things and just having a satisfying.
Like I said, if it's organic, I don't mind it.
Yeah. And I just, it's funny to think about, like, Moon Knight as an actual character has been gone for the last 3 episodes. Was it 3? He was gone after episode 3. So was it 2?
Yeah, so 2. So 4 and 5. Yeah, because we were kind of in the Asylum.
But such a short season. It's like, I don't feel like we've had a lot of Moon Knight, like the actual between Mr. Knight, Moon Knight, not a ton. Maybe more Mr. Knight than Moon Knight, but and it hasn't been like, for me, the highest point of Moon Knight badassery, so to speak, was the first episode at the end. Like, then it never reached that again for me. But I'm interested to see how they tie it up.
What you're saying is you like in this series how you get the old Bucky, Sam, hanging out, chilling stuff, rather than them being in suits for this episode, for this series, but not for the other one.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, and then I guess we skipped over it, but we did get to see kind of within that flashback sequence of how Mark ends up making his deal with Khonshu and becoming his warrior so to speak.
His fist of vengeance, I believe, isn't that
I think
what he's
so,
called?
yeah.
Yeah.
Another Batman word that I like.
That was a really cool, the suit up moment. That was neat. I did enjoy that.
Yeah, so I guess I do take that back, since we did get to see Moon Knight.
That was some badassery there. I will say that.
It looked cool.
Suiting up, yeah. It looked badass.
I know I say this every week. I just can't stand the voiceover. I want to go.
It wasn't as campy. This voiceover in this episode wasn't as campy.
I don't know.
He wasn't making jokes or being snarky.
It's still the voice itself.
Still just feels out of place. Yeah.
It's and the mix. It's so on top.
Well, I love Mythic Quest, so I'm a little more impartial to the voice. So.
I'm glad that you dig it, I guess.
Didn't say I dig it. I'm just more impartial to it than you are.
Yeah, and I know we said this in one of the first episodes. Like, I still feel like the voice itself, like, he could be the same actor, but like, he just needs the rugged, old, like, ancient feel to it, right? It just feels like it's so clean and clear.
It's the same thing with the Towerette hippo.
Yeah,
it's super like high pitched Valley Girl, whatever. I don't know. Like, I know why they do it, but I don't have to like it, and I don't.
It's like Cal said. It was very venomy. Sounded like venom.
Yeah. It's true. All right. Well, do we want to do any like expectations, theories, or anything like that? I don't really have. I as far as like, I feel like we'll get a Jake reveal, and I just hope that that's not like the cliffhanger at the end, because it feels like it's one of those things everybody expects now, and if that is what they leave you with, it's like, okay.
I feel like an expecting father, like, I just hope it's healthy. I don't know. I just hope it's healthy. Whatever it is, I just hope it's healthy. I'll be happy with whatever, as long as it's healthy.
I mean, the thing is, we're definitely going to see Moon Knight back. We're going to see a big battle scene, because in one of the little pre-trailers from a couple weeks ago, we saw that battle with the two kind of going at it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I expect to see Jake, but I just don't expect to see him like early in the episode, just because they haven't really set it up good enough, right? Like, we saw him in the thing, but now that he's balanced, because he doesn't have Steven, I don't think they can throw in another personality, because he'll be unbalanced. So like, I definitely think that it will be towards the end of it, and maybe it's where he's having to make a decision or something, and Jake has to step in to do it. Yeah. But I don't know. Like, here's the thing. This is like tinfoil at whatever on. I would love to see, it's not going to happen, but I would love to see the end. Like, one of the end of the episode moments is like Ghost Rider coming through from, being this plane or this world, and having to kind of set up this next series with multiple of them in there. And maybe this season series finale switch of wording is like kind of what they did with Luke Cage and Iron Fist, where it was kind of like, hey, season 2 is both of you guys kind of working together a little bit more, than it being your own type season. But
like
I don't know,
like a Midnight Suns kind of thing.
Like a building of it.
I still think introduction
of Blade, and because there's a lot of characters they're starting to introduce that would fall into that world. And if they don't want to use Kit Harington and his character in like a big movie, it's an easy way to kind of introduce him in there. Blade set him up for his movie eventually. But I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we see Blade, to be honest, like even like they did in Eternals with a kind of a voiceover kind of thing. But yeah, I think we'll see something in that of being the bigger cliffhanger than just a Jake. But I don't know. I'm also trying not to Mephisto this.
Well, we're gonna get that. We're gonna get that classic text from Britt. I watched the episode. That end credits though.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's don't Mephisto it up. There we go.
All All right, gentlemen. Well,
guess-
I think unless you got
I
one
guess
thing.
the last question here. Do you think there's any setup in this going into Doctor Strange on Thursday? Essentially,
That's
tomorrow we
my
got this.
thing.
We got Doctor
Yeah.
Strange on Thursday.
That's my thing. It is the way that they've laid this out to end the day before Doctor Strange. It does. I would not be surprised if there's some sort of tee up. I don't know what that would be, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. But
I hadn't actually even thought about that until you just mentioned it. It would not surprise me. I don't know if I expect it to, but it wouldn't surprise me.
yeah,
So
that's me.
I guess
Yeah.
we'll see.
So
Guess
looking
we'll-
forward to it.
Talk about it on Thursday, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe
see.
Tuesday next week or the week after. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We will. I think we're gonna finish this series. I think, and I shouldn't say that out loud because then it's gonna jinx me.
Yeah. It's like a no hitter. You can't do this,
tomorrow-
man. You can't talk about it.
Tomorrow could be like the worst thing I've ever seen on TV,
Right.
and then I'm
Brian's
like,
F this show. We're done with Marvel.
No one even talking about it. It's
I don't
over.
think that'll be the case, but I shouldn't say that.
This episode was really strong. So I'd be surprised if they screw it up that bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
This ain't Warner Brothers we're talking about. Marvel knows what they're doing.
I guess so.
Yep.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, we won't have too much long to wait, so we'll report back after we've all seen it. But yeah, I guess that's all that we have. Then I should at least. I don't think I did this at the beginning. I can't remember at this point. It's been a long night, but just in case, you can find everything CapeCast on Twitter at CapeCast Show. And then as far as CiNEMACHiNE, just go to cinemachinepod.com. You can find links to all our socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, as well as Patreon. And if you could subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that jazz, that would be very, very helpful. Britt, why don't you tag yourself since you're the one on here that's got his own stuff going on as well outside of Cape.
Yeah. No worries. If you want to check out any of the stuff I do, been streaming some Disney games, mobile games, things like that. Just youtube.com/defaultdan or twitch.tv/defaultdan is my username. So go check those out. Make sure to hit that sub, so follow, all that good stuff. But yeah.
Nice. Cool. Well, gentlemen, appreciate you jumping on, and appreciate everybody for tuning in. And I guess we'll see next week. Fingers crossed, as early as possible. Not next week. Hopefully Thursday. We'll say Thursday.
All right, let's not put a hard date on it.
It'll be Thursday for us. It'll be Friday for you people at home listening.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. I'm gonna try to make it. I've got Doctor Strange that night, so we'll see.
Oh,
well, it's not happening. Okay. It's not gonna be
Friday.
that. So it'll be next week, maybe.
We'll get it when we get it.
We'll get around to it. Well, how about this? We'll see you when we see you. So long.